Greetings! Welcome to another edition of the Empower Hour. I am Al Kumar.
And I'm Hanifa.
And we are your hosts. Each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. we come to you with impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. This week will be no different. We have in the studio with us today our very special friend and comrade and brother and
cousin.
Yeah, all those things. The Irritated Genie of Soufeese.
Thank you.
All right, calm down, audience. Calm down.
We need to get extra security. This is our brother, guys, and he's here to help us this week. Share with us some of the things that he received and brought back from the motherland. He was just recently over in Zimbabwe and South Africa.
Yes.
Spent 30 days there. You're there often, though. You're there, like, what, 2-3 times a year?
I try to go as often as I can.
Yeah. So he's always back and forth. But and every time he goes, he comes back with some very good quality information and things that we can actually, tangible things that we can grab hold of and actually move on. So this brother is here today to share with us some of those things. How you been?
Been good. I've been good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In action.
Yeah, I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back in the saddle.
Yeah. Cool. Now tell them again where you were, how long you were there, and when, all that good stuff.
Okay, so for the month of October, I started off, we had a 2-week tour. It's a Starlight Global Sister Shanice out of UK. So
shout out to Sister Shanice.
That's right. She's on Galaxy Radio. And if you want to know where the black, conscious, serious dialogue is going on in the UK, you want to tune in to Galaxy Radio. You can go right online and you can listen to it right directly from your on the internet. So you can listen to it, and I mean, they have, like, this is a place where you get serious international dialogue about what's going on in Africa, Europe, America, Brazil. I mean, they talk about everything.
Oh, wow.
And the Sister Shanice does a tour to Zimbabwe every year. This is her second one this year. And we're doing another one October the 4th through October 18th. Next year, she'll be doing that. And what we do, she does it. They brought like 35, 37 people from UK this year. Mm-hmm. And then myself and Dr. Berry, shout out to Dr. Berry. He's the brother that trained Venus and Serena Williams in tennis.
Oh, cool.
And he strong supporter of Straight Black Pride movement. He came on the tour with US, so we had a short amount of time to put it together. So we only had 2 people, myself and him, that came from the US. But we meet them over there and then join her tour, the Starlight Global Tour, every year. So we're gonna be doing it again next year.
Okay.
So for 2 weeks, you go and you get the royal treatment. I mean, you met at the airport. They had a celebration at the airport. You hop on your bus, they take you to your hotel, they come get your bags. You can't even hardly carry your bags. Brothers and sisters, black-owned hotel, black folks there, everybody work there black, treat you so wonderful, take you to your room. First day we get there, we're having a meeting with the main people who run tourism in the country. They're the main group that works with the government. So we're talking about high-ranking people in the country, and they're saying, we're glad you're coming. If you're going to be bringing more people, then we're going to make sure that the country accommodates you. So we met the first day. The very next day, that was a Friday. On Saturday, I did the lecture for the youth. So they had put together, Sister Shanice and Brother Talent. How you doing, Brother Talent, out in Zimbabwe? Put together a youth conference where I did African survival in the 21st century and lectured and basically showed them, hey, this is what's going on.
Right.
And the main thing I did, because I lectured throughout there, then of course we went for 2 weeks throughout the whole country. It was beautiful. But the main thing I focused on, because I was lecturing in Zimbabwe and South Africa as well. I went around to the different universities in South Africa. And the main thing I focused on this time was letting them know, listen, this is where we are as a group of African people in America. This is what happened to us. And a substantial amount of what's happening with us in America, you can't follow. Because what's happening is they're quickly adapting to the insanity that we're involved in over here. Like, they have a beautiful culture. If you go from here over there, like you almost feel like you don't ever want to come back. But what's happening is you can also see where they're beginning to start doing the things that don't work for us. So in other words,
the influences.
The influences. So you'll see all these cultural things they'll be telling you about, and you'll be smiling like they have this thing in South Africa where they call my young auntie. No, my young mother. My young mother, we call it an aunt. They call it the young mother. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're telling you all these little cultural things, and it starts having meaning, and they telling you what's going on. It's beautiful, but then at the same time you see that, you'll see some young brothers walking down and they pulling their pants down. So you like, nah, that's not something good. But like when I talk to the young people, and the youth in both South Africa and Tanzania, and in Zimbabwe, one of the things they were saying, man, I actually had people who raised their hand in the crowd and said, more black people from America need to come and say what you're saying. They said, because whatever you say, we believe.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, because as much as African Americans, and I've heard it many times, or people outside of America think that African Americans have no culture. African Americans are one of the most influential cultures all over the world. It's a real thing, and if you have traveled, you will know that. But where they're getting our culture from, they're getting it from people who don't have our best interests at heart. So really what they see as culture is propaganda. That's being sent out there, and that's what they're taking in. Right. Because that's the only way for them to really connect or to know what's going on with the people here is through media. And we already know media is anti-black. Anything good, it's not. They're not going to push it. So that's what they're going off of. Right. That's all they have to go off of.
And that's why I think what you're doing is so important and so key, is because you are like circumventing the mainstream media with information. So you're going straight to the people, and you're talking to the people directly about who we are and what we're doing here versus them looking at the news. And a lot of times that is a total conflict of what they're seeing. So what you're telling them versus what they're seeing is totally opposite. And
what happens is, so they don't know necessarily how to tell their own narrative. It's not an easy thing to know. So what happens is they don't know their own victories. So what happens, they'll have a victory that they did something successful as a country that'll be depicted as a loss, and they'll be depressed about, because the only person that they know how to take the information from is the West. Right. So they may say that this part's not true, this part's not true, but they don't know the overall narrative. Right. So they're sitting on a victory that they should be celebrating, which would build self-esteem and momentum, but at the same time, they don't have anybody to tell them, where we can come and say, no, let me tell you what y'all did and how successful and effective you were.
Well, give us an example of what you mean.
A good example, for instance, and I was following at the time, that's how I knew. When I'm sitting there in Zimbabwe, I'm talking to, there were people in there that were ex-veterans of the war. There were people that were there with Mugabe. There were different factions, and the young people. In their mind, because they're doing bad economically now, or struggling economically to be independent and work forward, they're thinking, oh, we've messed up something. I had to explain to them, no. Even what you thought you were fighting when you were taking your land back, you didn't understand. I said, what happened is they tried to push the gay thing in 1995 with LGBT coming to push the gay stuff in Zimbabwe. Mugabe came out and said, we absolutely not going to do this and accept it. So what happened is, when he did that, the other countries in Africa started to support him. And so the British were like, oh, what we didn't know at that time, we know now. There was an agenda to push this on the whole world, and they had already gotten Nelson Mandela to accept it. So I was able to show them the videos, so I can show you what happened. Nobody knew that, though. So we didn't know what the agenda was. All you knew was your president said we're not going to accept it. So once they saw that it wasn't working and that was their main agenda, then they had to curb the agenda. So they said, we're going to destroy Zimbabwe since they won't accept this homosexual thing, but we're not going to tell them that's why we're doing it. So they made this whole issue out of land being taken back, which had already been agreed upon in 1980. They've been doing this from 1980 to 1995. There's been no issue. But they needed an issue to take the people's eyes off of what the real issue was. So they said, you cannot buy your land back anymore, even though the agreement says it. So after that, they began to try to collapse the country as a result of them resisting the homosexual agenda. Well, even though they didn't know that's what was happening, everything that the West did to collapse Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe successfully defeated. So not only did they defeat the homosexual agenda, they took their land back too with no consequences. They get their land back, and all they got was some what they call it, sanctions from the West, and they still managed to maintain a thriving, peaceful nation, the most peaceful in South Africa. So they actually won every agenda in the 21st century. But what has happened is they don't know that. So as I'm saying and explaining this, the veterans in the audience are sitting there going, wow. Because they fought this, what was happening. They didn't know why they were dealing with all of this and why are they trying to undermine our economy? Why is this happening? Now I'm telling them, you won and South Africa didn't, so I can show them what's happening in South Africa now and how they won a successful victory. I said, but you got to know your own narrative. Once you know that, you won't be thinking that now that you've beaten all of these nations that are trying to undermine you, that they're going to reward you with some financial benefit.
Yeah.
You won. So now you got to walk on your own because they're still upset that you won.
Right.
But you don't, it's not even being classified as a victory now.
Right. Good stuff. Interesting stuff. You were just, you were there, and I watched where you did this radio program. It was a debate. It was an interesting program. I found it very interesting because you both, you know, she was good. She was good on her platform, and she was able to articulate herself well and all those things. So I found it a very good, balanced debate. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And how they can find the people watching, how they can watch themselves.
If you go to Irritated Genie Speaks on YouTube, I have a page, Irritated Genie Speaks, and go down and look at the interview from Azania 98.7 Power FM. It's one of the big radio stations in South Africa. Like, it's one of the main hubs. And what most people don't know is that, and this will be my assessment of it, the level of homophilia, homosexuality, acceptance, pedophilia, and all that kind of stuff in South Africa is probably 25 to 50% worse than it is in America. So we're talking about a crisis it's difficult once you know how to see it and talk to people and understand what's going on. It's difficult to digest. So I knew that because this is my last day in Azania. I was on my way back, and our brother set up a radio interview for me to have. I didn't know the person.
Okay.
Didn't have no idea what it was going to be like.
Okay.
When I got there, we sat down and we did the interview, and it quickly became clear to me, okay, she's here, her objective.
So you didn't know going in that what the discussion was going to be about or anything? Oh,
no idea. They
interesting.
the brother said we have somebody from America who's a scholar, who's here, who has some interesting information and perspective about the African survival in the 21st century. So I expected not just to talk about that, I expected to talk about the 4 major threats to African survival and this, that, and
Right.
I didn't know it was going to be a hot seat like this.
It was.
As soon as I sat down, she came right in. I said, okay, I see what I'm dealing with. And I said, well, let's go. And basically, and it just kind of shows, because people had told me, she's considered the black power person over here in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, in South Africa, she's the person that represents the black people. And she was 125% in favor of homosexuality being acceptable on a full-scale level, that it's part of our traditional African history and culture, blah, 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 blah. All of that is false. But that is the narrative that's being pushed to the brothers and sisters on the continent. In South Africa in particular, there's no main primary voice that speaks against it. So
Who's she working for?
she worked with 98.7, but I looked her up afterwards, of course, and I researched. She's a very popular international media person. Like, she's an international figure. So she carries herself extremely well, the way she speaks and everything like that. But I mean, once we got to the meat of the discussion, she doesn't have any information. She's just somebody that's pushing an agenda, and she's wrong. And she ran into a force of nature. I don't blame her for that. I don't know what to do, you know what I'm saying?
If you guys want to see that interview for yourselves, which I highly recommend, definitely look that up. And
Irritated Genie Speaks.
Irritated Genie Speaks on YouTube. It was a really good one. Really good one. If you guys are just tuning in, you are watching the Empower Hour with myself and my sister Hanifa here. We do this each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on the eLife Studios platform. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook. And then we're here with the Irritated Genie. Irritated Genie of Soufeese is here as our special guest this week. If you want to call in, the hotline number is 240-455-5934. Give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind. Jeannie, I was I bring this up because just on my page, those of you who know out there know I'm very active on social media, and I brought a scenario up recently that actually you chimed in on as well. Thank you very much for that. That I'm seeing this dynamic taking place, this new trend taking place among us, that a lot of people are actually saying that the transatlantic slave trade never took place. That was all a lie. Our ancestors never came over here in chains on boats. All that was made up. We were already here. All of us were already here. And so, yeah. And so, my question is, do you ever talk about that slave trade when you're over in Africa with the African brothers and sisters? And what is their take on this?
I do. And it's very interesting. Some of them, it's not part of the education system, so some of them have no idea. They don't know where black people in America came from. Like they don't have, they may have heard something, but like they have no contextual understanding. Of course, I show what it was like, and I use some of the clips from some of the movies, and then I put it into a context of what we've been through. Matter of fact, that's how I construct most of the discussions. I'll say, hey, this is who we are, and I'll show them what we went through and what we fought. And what we've gone through, and show it in the context of what they're doing, and saying, hey, look, here's what we did that's good that you want to follow and appreciate us for. Here's what's not good. This is where we lost the battle. Don't follow this stuff. And so they receive it extremely well, because it gives them a greater appreciation and respect for us, and also some of the insanity that some of the ones of them that can see some of the behavior we're doing is insanity. When we can say, here's how they got us to do this, it puts us in a different light. It's like, wow, these are African people over there that are fighting, that they respect us because they like good or bad what we're doing. 500 years of having a fight with folks like this, it gives them a new sight. And also, really important, they don't typically have whites around on a day-to-day basis. So understanding racism is different for them than it is us. They see black corruption every day. They don't really have a sense of contextual understanding of how vicious white racism can be, because they don't see whites every day. And when they see us and we show them what we've gone through, it gives a different view of the world.
Good stuff.
So I see that we have a caller. Okay.
Call us back at 240-455-5934. Talk to us about the whole business aspect. I know it was a two-part travel for you, where you went, and part of it was a kind of a business alliance. Can you share with us what we can expect?
Yeah. So when we go to any of the countries, one of the things we want to do, we want to create a different context of what a tour is. So the sister Shanice, when we went over there on this tour, we met the plant where they actually make marble, like tables and all that kind of. We actually went into the plant where you see brothers and sisters with their own plant, taking it from when they go up in the mountains to get the stuff, to the grinding it, to reshaping it. I mean, you get to see the entire process. It makes you very proud to be black. And if you're interested in these type of business opportunities, you're meeting the actual people who make the decisions. So we're actually going into a level. It would be like coming into America and getting to meet with the head of Coca-Cola or something like that. Who gets to do that? And actually be able to say, hey, I'd be interested in doing something. We do stuff on the ground as well. Like we have people, we have a sister that makes clothing. And so we actually meet with her, have all kinds of different styles that she makes, and she makes and produces clothing for us. And we have a business arrangement where we bring back clothing here and sell. We get it at a good price there, and we bring back some of the nicest fashions you can see. So when people ask me what it is that, where'd you get what you wear and everything, like, we actually get it made in Africa. But it's not just that. We have people in Africa. We have brothers that have their own farm, actually brothers and sisters, and they make natural medicines that are designed to help high blood pressure, diabetes, and various different ailments that we have here. Ones that we typically talk about, they make things right there from the ground that they say are designed to help it for natural healing. So we get people who are in business over there. Whatever you do, like you do jewelry, we'll find a jewelry maker there where you can get made in Africa jewelry with our brothers and sisters on the ground, get a connection, get it cheaper than what you've been getting now and nicer, and you can actually specialize and personalize what you want them to bring back over, and we help to create those relationships. So not only are you having a wonderful time, not only are we going to nice hotels and enjoying ourselves, nice food and all that, relaxation, but you're also meeting people and being able to get right involved with business.
Yeah, I love that too. My sister Wasita, who's watching, and myself, we actually plan to go on this trip in 2019 with you guys. So I'm looking forward to that because, yeah, I mean, what mixing business with pleasure?
That's right.
You can't get no better than that.
In black business, like, we're not going to someone who's buying stuff from whites to get stuff, or buying stuff from Asians, or we're going to a black person who says, I make this stuff here. You come in and meet with them, and you say, I want to work with you directly. And so when we go and do our tour, it's just Shanice's tour, when Straight Black Pride, we go there, one of the things we pride ourselves is, we're on this tour. When we say we're putting money into the economy, we're not talking about putting money into some white hotel. Not that in all of the hotels are black owned, but what I'm saying, that's not the idea. Some white owned resort. No, we're going to a real black person that has a business there and is making a living, feeding their family and taking care of their children, and we're putting our money in the hands of black people.
Right.
For 2 weeks.
Right.
And we're seeing them smile and giving us the great prices for the goods and services that we're procuring, and we're putting money directly into the real black economy in Zimbabwe.
I love it. Okay, guys, if you're tuning in, you're watching the Empower Hour with myself, Al Kumar Hanifa, and we're interviewing the Irritated Genie of Soufeese about his most recent trip to Zimbabwe and
Zambia, South Africa.
South Africa. We want to jump into some of the promos really briefly and share with you guys some of the things we do here at Everlasting Life on a regular basis. Of course, this is one. It does have full-fledged studio right inside of Everlasting Life Vegan Restaurant and Lounge, but as you can see, it's so much more here. I call it the Culture Hub. We're located at 9185 Central Avenue. That's in Capitol Heights, Maryland. There's a new location on the scene, actually just grand opened on December 1 in Anacostia, so you don't have to go far if you guys over in the DC Southeast area for the same great tasting food. Right inside of the Anacostia Arts Center on Good Hope Road, you'll find Everlasting Life Vegan Restaurant and Lounge right there ready to service you. Actually, they have a special going on this month, 15% off any entree, 2 sides, through December the 31st. So go on and check them out. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, closed on Mondays. Open Tuesdays through Sundays, closed on Mondays. Right here, which is I call the main hub, all the other restaurants is 3 in total, but the other 2 are the side hubs. But this is our main hub here in Capitol Heights. There's Children's Night each and every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Bring the children out. As long as they're 12 and under and they're here with a paying adult, they eat free. But not only that, we take the dining in area and it becomes a huge playroom for the children. So bring them out for that. Actually, we're doing a special thing for the children. It's going to be Children's Day on Saturday, December the 15th from 11 to 5 p.m. It's all free. They have all kind of activities and arts and crafts and things, special things, games in store for the children. And then there'll be vending. There'll be shopping for the adults. So the adults, you can shop while the children play. That's Saturday the 15th of October. Every Friday, we do a dinner and a movie night. I host from 7 to 9 p.m. We air a different, usually documentary, something that's outside of mainstream information you don't readily hear about. We do that deliberately here at our dinner and the movies every Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. and then it follows with a discussion. Discussions are always powerful. I gain so much from the audience members. Join us for that. That's every Friday, always free from 7 to 9 p.m. Black Wall Street Renaissance every first Saturday of the month. We take the lounge area, fill it with vendors. You come shop, all day shopping from 12 to 6 p.m. That's every first Saturday of the month. So you come on, and our goal is to circulate our black dollars and keep it right here within our own communities. So come on out and join us for that. That's our Black Wall Street Renaissance. Marketplace every third Saturday of the month. We specialize in another marketplace that's geared towards a healthier lifestyle. fresh produce, natural supplements, organic herbs and spices, vegan groceries. We do vegan presentations, cooking demonstrations, and things of that nature. That's every third Saturday of the month from 11 to 4 p.m. Consumer Business Reports. I have a new program out there, so if you are a business owner and you want to get your product or service out to a larger audience of people, you want to give me a call. I host a new show called the Consumer Business Report. And you come on, we take 30 minutes, and we discuss who you are, what your product and service is, why is it important to our community, why should the community patronize you. We sell things right on air, and then you get a link to the program so you can share with your own sphere of influence. So you're reaching thousands of people right here on the eLife Media platform as well as your own. And that you can get all that for only $50, family, $50, and that's a kind of an introductory rate. So get in while you can fit in. Send me a message box, and I can discuss more about that with you. eLife Studios, if you see what Hanifa and I do here and you think you yourself have a voice that should be heard on a wider scale, consider coming and hosting your own show right here at eLife Studios. We do have a broadcasting call going out. Fees are extremely affordable. Reach out to us here for that information as well. All right, going right back into the program with our special guest, the Irritated Genie of Soufeese, and we are talking about his recent trip to Africa and a little bit more. A little bit more. I'm thinking, if you guys want to call in, 240-455-5934. Give us a call right here in the studio, 240-455-5934. How can we benefit, just as, people of African descent here in America? And, we don't run a whole lot of the whole international trade systems that are set up right here in America. But how can we benefit from helping each other? Bypassing all the red tape, so to speak.
And I think that's an excellent question. And there are different levels to do it on. The level that we're doing it on now, which I think is really the level where the real benefit comes in, is to go right directly to the continent. Get somebody who goes to the continent and then meet real people that are involved in business.
Yeah.
And go to the continent. I tell the story all the time, but I'll tell it one more time real quickly. In Ethiopia, there was a brother who went to Ethiopia. This was some years ago. I never met him, but his friend told me. He said, my man went to Ethiopia. He's never been no business person. He's just a dude that went there, a brother, just to have a good time. Had a wonderful time, but he noticed they had this little bus thing where the bus would go across the country, but the bus would stop and pull up and wait till it got filled. It could be an hour, it could be 6 hours. Whenever it got filled, then the bus would take off. So he was like, if I just put a vehicle and people could tell what time it was going to leave and had a time and a schedule, then people would know how to plan their whole day, the trips, I could make some money. In 1 year, this is an everyday dude. He just said they didn't have as much as a bus schedule. He put it in place, got a vehicle, and did it. He made $1 million 1 year.
Wow.
So I'm saying, with our experience here, with being involved in what we're doing, even in just regular jobs and everyday life in America, with systems that tend to work, you can find opportunities there if you got a business eye. There's just huge gaps that you can fill, and you can get rich.
Find the need.
You
What
find
the
a
need
need.
is, yeah.
And if you're a business-minded person, you're going to see it. You don't have to look for it.
Right.
He wasn't a business-minded person. It was just that obvious. So if you're a
Right.
business-minded person, you're going to find the gaps, and you're going to see where you can help there.
Yeah.
And the people will appreciate you for helping.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can enrich yourself, and everybody benefits.
So you're saying the goal is to travel, get out there, go, and
Connect
with
and
real
meet
people.
real
ground.
people on the ground. Yeah, good advice. Thank
makes
you for that.
sense.
I think we have a caller. Caller, are you there? Let's see. Caller, are you there? If you're on the line, we can hear you. We just need you to. Okay. Well, hang on there. We're going to get it all situated from the other.
Hello?
Oh, here we go.
Hello?
Hi,
Yes,
can you
ma'am.
hear
We can
us?
hear you clearly now.
Hello?
Can
Yes,
you hear us?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, caller. Can you hear us? No.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we
Yes,
can
we
hear
can.
you. Okay.
Alright.
All right. So we're gonna get that situated. We can hear her well, but she can't hear us. So just go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. What is the energy like among the youth there, as far as self-sufficiency? I mean, at least from what I have observed, when my first time going to Africa, that's one of the things I noticed. First with my brother-in-law at the time, just for example, you know, here we go to the bank, we borrow to get our homes, we have a mortgage. And one of the things that I first observed, because we stayed in Kampala, so that was the first home that I stayed in before I went to Toro. But I know, I was like, the home is like sort of unfinished because he was taking his time building it, because
There's no mortgage.
there's no mortgage.
You buy land, you put the house up.
Yes, but it was like a little compound that he was building, and building something for his children to leave, you know, to leave something behind. There's so many things that we have in place here that they don't have, and they have no choice but to be self-sufficient. So they have those things they call boda bodas, which is just
The border.
motorcycles.
That's right.
Right, and I remember my ex bought his mom one, so she can own it and rent it out. Something that simple to make sure that she constantly have income, you know, coming
right.
in. People will plant their food and go to the market and sell their food. Like, I saw that self-sufficiency there. Like, it was just so obvious, you know, because I'm like, here, everything is borrowed, everything is debt, everything, you know, over there it's like, no, this is what you have to do. You know, land is a big deal, of course, for many reasons, but the young people, though, I noticed they're kind of like trying to get away from their culture, their traditions. That's what and you see it now even on the social media and stuff. So they don't want to wear their attires. It's like they're trying to run from it.
What's happening is, and this was my main course of dialogue with the young people. That's why I did youth groups. What they see as being illuminated, okay, let's not make it complex. It's the same thing we were. If you go back to the 1980s, young people were trying to do some real positive, progressive things. Once NWA came out, 2 Live Crew, our whole trajectory of life changed. We used to go to the club. There was sometime you would dress down, but you wanted to wear some nice shoes and nice slacks, because you had a different sense. You were moving into adulthood. Once the hip hop came and it got dirty and grimy, you didn't want to go there. You want to wear boots and tennis shoes and stuff like that. You had no sense of maturity as an adult and the reality of what it requires to actively be engaged in professional achievement. What's happening in Africa is the same thing. The young people, they're sick of the corruption of the governments, but the idea that being sick of the governments has gone to, I want to wait for the government to do something for me, as opposed to let me actively do something for myself. And then what it is that they want to do is being changed to where at one time it was, I want to build my own home to have my family. It's changing now. Now it's, I want to have some liquor bottles and pop this. So when you go into a club in Africa, if you go to one where it's a little older and more mature crowd, and maybe they do the things the way they used to, you'll hear a lot of roots reggae. It's huge in Africa, and a lot of Afro beats. But if you go on a night where it's the young people, I can't even describe to you the things that they're listening to and the way they're dressing and the way they're behaving. It's worse than here because they're copying here. So you know how when you're copying something, you end up being worse.
The extreme.
So it's extreme negative, like to the point where it would make some of the people that were coming from England and other places a little bit horrified by some of the music they were listening to. And even the fact that you go into this club, and I'm talking about US dollars now, and there's a little section no bigger than this area here, and they're paying $800 for the VIP section. And the women walk out with the bikini type things with some bottles and stuff walking there. It's like they're just emulating us into nothingness. So they're losing the sense of being an African. But then there's a fight because there's some of them that want the consciousness, but this hip hop, R&B, Black American deaf system is so the empire has become addictive to children. Pornography. Pornography.
Empire, the series?
Okay, when I was in Uganda at first, I was telling them about a lot of stuff I'm talking about. They were already against homosexuality, so this was 2000, maybe 13. So they agree with that, but they didn't see it as a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
They like, he keeps bringing, you really stuck on this thing. I got called from them after Empire come out, brother, we have a crisis, huh? Everybody, and this is the word they use, our people are addicted to the Empire. So I'm talking to the young sister, she's 15, and when I was there, she's 15 years old. They're in a very good school. Has Sudanese, Ugandans there. This is in Uganda. She said, me and my friend are the only two that don't skin bleach and the only two that have natural hair.
Wow.
Now she's Pan-African. So
In Africa.
in Uganda. So we're not even talking about an African country that has so much Western influence on the. We're talking about a Central African country that you still have people that in the countryside that have their old ways, speak different languages, different groups. They know their culture and stuff. The Western media and the Black American participation in the cultural destruction of our peoplehood is beginning to destroy Africa at an incredible rate, and it's affecting the young people more than the older people.
Wow.
We talked about the sister China that
Yeah.
was selling the skin bleach,
Yes.
and we kind of discussed it. And I was explaining I was telling Alchemy, I get like you could be upset at her, but the fact that she can find somewhere to push that, knowing that she's going to make a big profit, it's a problem with the people.
Yeah.
There's a problem with the people because it's like you say, any business-minded person, location. Where am I going to profit? Where am I going to do best? And you go where you are needed or
Yeah.
wanted. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
It's a problem on the ground to me.
Yeah.
It's a
And it's
problem.
not
She's,
just in Africa
she's
either.
exploiting that.
This is
No,
worldwide.
of course.
That's-
I just
yeah.
heard in China have a big issue with bleaching. They bleaching over there too?
Yeah, what's happening is there's a programmed death culture that has been programmed and structured that they've had about 40 years practicing on us. And I'm gonna use this as a good place to start. We could start with black exploitation films, but I think it's a better place for our generation to start. NWA.
Okay.
The culture of saying that it's good to kill each other, it's good to rape and sexually exploit women, it's good to abuse young females.
Good to call yourself the N-word.
It's good to call
Right.
yourself. Let me tell you something. I'm not exaggerating this when I say this. I'm not exaggerating this. It got so bad when I was there, I had to say, and I have to leave 4,000 miles away to come all the way over here to hear y'all using the doggone N-word more than we use it over there. I had to say that so that they realized how sick it was. I got in a car in Tanzania going from the hotel, from the airport, from where I was staying to going to Soweto. I'm sitting in there. I'm not exaggerating. And y'all, anybody that knows me, you can imagine how I had to reserve myself. I'm sitting in the car. I hop right in. Yeah, where we going, man? So I'm telling him. He said, yeah, you from America, aren't you? He said, yeah, I can tell by your accent. So I'm like, yeah, I'm smiling. Asked him. I forget who he was, what group he was part of. So he's driving, and I'm hearing Biggie Smalls on the radio. I said, oh, so you listen to Biggie Smalls? He said, yeah, man, I love y'all ends. He said the real word, right? So I said, huh? He said, yeah, I love y'all ends, the way y'all ends do stuff, man. I want to be, I love the way y'all ends do it. So I said, us ends? I said, so you don't consider yourself an end? He said, not yet, He said, we work, I'm working.
Wow.
We are doing so much damage. In fact, when I lectured to the youth in Tanzania, and I told them, not just the youth, but the community, I said, listen, if you're not careful with the speed that this is going, I said in 15 years, the word there that the whites created to tell them they have no value is kaffir, Kaffir. Even to this day, if a black person hears somebody white in South Africa say that, if it's a real brother, he gonna smack him in the head. I mean, it's like brothers do here that still got their mind right. They hear somebody white say it. I said, if y'all are not careful, if you don't listen to what I'm telling you, what they've done to us, if you continue to follow us in this negativity, 15 years from now, your children and your grandchildren will be walking around saying, what's up, my Kaffir? No, I love you. And like, you should have seen their faces because they were like, it's not possible. And I was like, that's what I said 20 years, 30 years ago. I said saying it's not possible. Yeah. Right? It was no way we'd accept that as something, and y'all don't see it now because they never call each other. Only the whites use that word.
Yeah.
Blacks never use it. I said, but they will if you continue to follow us in this negative direction.
And it's sick because we internalize the self-hate and don't even realize it. We try to make it out to be a term of endearment.
I was going to say, that's exactly what has happened. So when they see it through the media, they're looking at it like, oh, this is a good thing to use. It's a term of endearment. But like Jeannie said, where they're at, Kefa, you can't use that. That's an insult to them.
And the same here with the N-word when certain people use it, which I see where it's a psychological dysfunction where you're mad and angry and riled up. If one person uses it and another person uses it, you're smiling and happy. That is insane to me. That's
really
insane.
It's insane to anybody.
It never made sense to me. It never did. Yep.
Yeah.
And people will fight you.
And let me just say this. And
to remain an N-word.
Right.
That's it.
And I'll say this to compare the two countries, like in Zimbabwe. And first of all, if you go there, no matter what, from this country, you're going to love your experience. Like, even though I'm telling you some of the things, because this is what I do politically, but your day-to-day experience, the people are going to treat you so nicely. They're going to be so warm. It's like going back. It's like when we used to have family reunions. That's the kind of feeling you get in Africa. It's just so many warm people, children going in the street, safe. In Soweto, you think it's supposed to be a horrible place. The children are out in the street playing like we used to do, and you can see they safe. It'd be 6 o'clock, they walking across the street, going to somebody else's house. Just a living society where people are having a wonderful time. So I'm only talking about those things that I see that we're doing that's doing harm to them. So I want to keep that in mind. But in the club, this is not even the center of Azania, South Africa. We're not talking about the center, the city. We're talking about the outskirts. You go into the club, and it's more lesbian sisters dancing with each other than the women dance with men. It's more gay dudes dancing with each other than there is. I'm talking about Black Africa. They had a program called After 9. That, again, the program we talking about, that they put on in Azania. There was a big hit. And what it was about is these men, they like a regular brother. He's married with children, but after 9, they gay guys. And so this was a whole nighttime TV series that people watched every week. It got into just like they do with Empire here and the other stuff they had. So they're culturally destroying our people around the world, and we, who have a better sense of what's happening because we've been dealing with it longer, are in the right position to go there, and they'll listen to us to find out what's happening. But not enough of us are doing it. None of us are even in a condition mentally to be able to go back and give them the right information.
So I got 2 questions. One, what were you doing in the club? Okay.
Okay.
Good question.
What you were doing in there, Jeannie? But the real question I have is, so when we talk about, I guess, repatriating back or going back, or you hear people say this all the time, Black people, we need to go back to Africa. America is not for us. It sounds like they are walking in to a similar situation. You know, because what you're saying is like from, let's say, 20 years from now, at the rate they're going, what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm going to answer 2 of your questions. They go together. The first question, what I do when I go there, while I'm in the club. I'll be honest with you, I don't go to no clubs here. In order for me to do the work that I do to talk about what's going on with our people, I have to go to the places where I can make the reports. To be honest with you, I'm 45 years old now. I didn't want to go to a club this time. I'm going to tell you why I went this time. The people in England didn't know me. Most of them. I mean, maybe out of 30 of them, maybe 5 to 7 of them knew me before that, but they didn't. But I spoke on the bus, and so they kind of knew what I told them what I stood for. When that happened, they went to the club to see it. These are old people just going to have a good time, and they came to me literally and said, "You have to go for what you do." I said, they beat me in the head and said, "You got to go." So I'm like, "Would you please help me?" And I'm not going to use the language, but God, I can't even say it. I said, "Well, could you help me understand?" He said, "All night the songs were where you blank me in the backside." See, that's what we heard all night, and that wasn't the worst stuff. And I was like, "Are you serious?" They're like, all night long. So they were like, they said they were horrified by the lyrics, but they liked the environment of being in Africa. So that's why I went there to see for myself. Right. So when I went to South Africa, I said, I already know it's bad, but it's not good enough to me to know. I got to be able to say, hey, and see it for myself. And so I did that. So now you're saying, are they going to different, when we go into Africa? This is what I've been telling people, because people say, we got to get out of here and repatriate. People have been saying that. And I'm telling people, hey, I'll come out and get on me for saying this, but I've been telling people, we're a race of cowards now. And I'll be honest, if you're a coward, you might as well just go ahead and kill yourself, because there's nowhere for you to hide on this planet today.
That's what I'm saying. There's a global agenda as far as blackness is concerned. Where are you running to?
This was the thing. It's not as bad in Africa as it is here. Let me be honest.
It's getting there.
Well, it depends on no. Let me take that back. If you're in Cameroon, the French-speaking part, it's worse than it is here.
Okay.
If you're in certain places in South Africa, it's worse than it is here. In general, in South Africa, it's not quite as bad as we are here, but in certain places, it's worse. In Zimbabwe, it's not nearly as bad as it is here. So you in Tanzania, it's not nearly as bad as it is here, except in certain areas. What I'm saying is this: the war of the world is going to Africa. In other words, the most intense warfare that we've ever seen in modern history is going to Africa. So when our people are saying we should go back to Africa, I'm saying, I say it differently. No, we shouldn't be repatriating. The people that want to fight for our people, that have something to offer, we should be everywhere. We should be here. We should be in Belize. We got to build bridges where we can travel. Because
I agree with that.
Because why do I want a sick person here going to Africa, making them more sick? I don't need rappers saying, you know what, we got to go to Africa. I don't need a rapper in Africa. There's nothing that a rapper is going to do unless he's doing, like, I think some of the rappers are starting schools.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
But I'm even concerned. What are you, if you're saying this stuff you're saying here, what is your school teaching? You know, what are you really teaching when you say you're starting school? What does that really mean?
Right.
I'm saying, no, ain't nowhere to run. It ain't going to get no better. The only place, what I look at is this: Africa is no longer just a physical place. What we have here is Africa. You come into everlasting life environment, you have positive people who have positive dialogue. Look at what we're talking about here now. Where else you go in this area and people are doing what we're doing right now?
I think that sometimes when people are studying about Africa, they get trapped in this time bubble and they think like it's still in all of its glory. And I'm like, no, you need to not just ancient history, come to the present history. Look at the news. You know, there's corruption there that you cannot begin to even understand.
True.
And so many levels that you get there, and people will try to scheme you. Your own brothers that look like you as an American is trying to scheme you out of your money and your business. It's a real thing. And I'm like, we romanticize this idea of Africa so much that we don't even discuss the reality of what it is now. And it sounds good to say we're going back to Africa. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is, start where you're at. Like you're saying, create that here, and you should have people that you can connect to on the continent to visit as much as you can first. And then you can make a decision to move. That's your decision. But it can't be out of you just romanticizing it because you read several books.
Right.
And you get there and be like, oh my gosh.
I know people that went and after some years came back. And that's from my island.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, my vision of it is it more of us should go and visit as a tourist spot? Yes. Because if we bring our dollars into these African nations under the right circumstances, again, not bringing our filth, but to go, and if we bring it right, then what happens is they don't need as much money from other people.
Right.
And so we become an economy for them, and then they start building the country around us. And if we say we want culture, then they'll put their stuff back on because it's attached to a dollar sign and a sense of pride. Right. And then we're not trying to take something there. I'm not coming here to be with your 5-year-old daughter and take her off on a tour where you're trying to make some money and let me violate her.
Right.
I'm the exact opposite.
Right.
I want to come and I'm going to pay you to have an environment where if somebody touches a child, the law says you can do whatever you want to do with it. Right? So we can actually have the power in Africa to encourage the environments we want to create, if the right people are going over there, because the more people you bring, the more money you bring. I'm going to tell you right now, you want to talk about dollar, money talks. On the continent, you come and you pull out your money and you hand it to our people, they appreciate it. And it's true appreciation. The danger in that is, that's when we say, we all got to go back to Africa. I don't want everybody going back to Africa. Because I know how some people would do with Africa, but to what you said. It's not like our brothers and sisters over there haven't been under colonialism for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's so much corruption there that
So much.
it's not different than here. The difference is that we have a better opportunity to take a government there and create a broader spectrum of a decent spectrum of black life there than we do here because of what we're faced with here. But the truth of it is, at the moment, without taking out those corrupt leaders and putting in decent leadership and getting the people on the ground to stop waiting for handouts and to believe that they can do for themselves and get out of the skin bleaching and desire to want to be white, at the moment, all of us are in the same situation. We're all looking for an escape. There's no escape. We have to address this monster. We have to say self-hatred must be addressed. Corruption has to be addressed. And our enemies that want to kill us, they got to be addressed. Ain't nowhere to run. Wherever we are, we got to stand our ground, put our foot down and say we can be better than we've been. We got to come to black-owned restaurants. They got real food. this is what I'm trying to say. And I really believe this, and I used to say it as a saying, when I said building bridges, we got to make Africa wherever we are, I really believe it now. The reason I say that, I don't care where I'm at. If it's black people around, I'm the same irritated genie. I'm going to make it an environment where you know that it's wrong to do something to a child, where you know a man's supposed to be with a woman, and you know that black folks supposed to be look out for ourselves. And if you bring anybody that ain't black in that environment, you're going to see how I act with them. And you're going to say, okay, this guy's real. That's Africa to me. Wherever there's some black people I can talk to and we can work together. So this everlasting life environment, you might call it Capitol Heights. For me, this is Africa. Because we talking about Africa now. We African people. We working together. We spending our money. And I'm saying when we go to Africa, we got to look at it and say, why don't we have an everlasting life in Africa?
Right.
With the dishes that they have.
Yeah.
Right.
It's totally doable. But those are the people, and that's the mentality that I think we need to start taking. Everybody's not suited to go back to Africa.
Right.
When you say everybody is not suited, why is it so difficult for people, the vast majority, to hear what you're saying and it registers enough for a change to occur? Why do we keep falling for these same old traps over and over again and just go with it? Am I making any sense?
It does. It's because I'm gonna tell you why. What happens is when and what we're in, and it's a difficult thing. We're in a somewhat of a time warp. So what I mean by that is, in the 1960s and 50s and 60s, we fought the kind of fight for our people that was glorious, but we were fighting certain circumstances. We now have got hit with a different type of angle of a circumstance. And so what happens now, we realize we need to fight again, but this is the problem. Ain't no roadmap for this. So what you're going to do is go back to the last roadmap where we fight a different problem. So there are people that want to put on the, and I'm not knocking anybody. I respect everybody does. I'm just saying, I'm just giving an example. We want to put on the Panther uniform like the Panthers of the 60s. Yeah, but the Panthers of the 60s were dealing not with something that happened in the 20s. They were dealing with right then and there, every night, police beating up side people in the head. So they're putting on that uniform and saying, I'm going to follow you, police officers beating us in the head. It worked for its time.
Yeah.
Nobody was comfortable with what they did. It wasn't like we celebrated now. Nobody was comfortable with that. Our people were scared to death. But it was the right thing for the right time.
Or marching for jobs and justice.
Right.
50 years ago, here we are, same 50 years later,
Right.
doing the same thing.
That made sense in the moment, the things that the people did for their time. We have not adjusted and realized the time we're in. And so what happens is, you have to get to the point where, I'm going to be honest with you, I know it, it's not a question to me. I know where the center of the universe is because all I do is study fighting black people. The center of the universe, in terms of the black adjustment, is in one center. We have to address sexual abuse in the black community and the impact of homosexuality. Not because it's the only issue. Not even necessarily, this is why. It's a few reasons. One, it's the primary issue of the day. Nobody wants to talk about it, but nobody wants to talk about police brutality back then either. Only them people were the most courageous. But what happened when somebody finally dealt with it, it starts curbing the window, and now people get braver and start doing stuff. So when we deal with that, what's going to end up happening is a multitude of things. One, will be on the pulse. There's no other thing right now in Africa that the European nations are saying we're going to pull back your hundreds of millions of dollars for, except for one thing. Every single time they say we don't want this homosexual agenda. That should resonate, and black people say, wow, they don't care what you're eating. They don't care what songs you're singing. There's nothing else that you're doing except any country, even the countries taking the land back, they're not fighting with them. The countries that say no to homosexuality are the ones that come under full assault. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
The center of the current universe, and this is what happens when we take that. What happens is, one, we start repairing the families that we're going to need to actually rebuild ourselves. Because if you don't stop that repetitious cycle of pedophilia and abuse, you can't do nothing. But there's a second piece. Again, I've been a lot of different places. You got to know the pulse of people. It ain't that it's the biggest thing. This is the thing, though. Right now, with the confusion in the black world, even with a person that they don't think they black, they think they monotonous or whatever the thing is. Yeah, all of that stuff is one thing. But there's one thing, I don't care who they are. For the most part, when you bring it up, it's going to start resonating. They don't like. It's the homosexuality. All of us feel, even if you don't want to fight it, you're like, don't keep pushing it on me and my children. Everywhere I go, once you bring it up, it starts resonating. So what happens is we found the center of the universe for two reasons. One, we find the key issue, which is sexual abuse, which is what leads to that. And then the second piece, we found the thing that everybody's willing to agree on. People put their religion aside for this thing. You have a Muslim and a Hebrew and a black Christian and a Pan-Africanist that would never even talk to each other. But if you're standing somewhere and you bring that up, all four of them be saying, yeah, this stuff is crazy, man. Yeah, did something happen in my school, my child, I don't do that. So it's like, well, we found something we agree on. So do we even need to discuss religion right now? We don't even have to. If we can find one thing we can agree on, we found it, but we're scared.
But I'm wondering, is it really, I know we got to wrap up really quick, but I'm wondering, is it really that big of a pushback, though? Because I'm seeing the signs, telltale signs. I'm seeing Christian pastors being more acceptable. You know, I'm seeing, you know, the TV and everything. If people say something now, it's like, oh, my daughter or my aunt or my mama gay, and you know what I'm saying? And that's, so is it really the big pushback that you
I'm going to tell you, that's an excellent question. Here's the crisis we're in, and I say this everywhere I go too. And I said it in Africa, and they shook their heads, and I say it in America, same thing. One of our biggest issues, and it's another central issue, and it's everywhere. Our entire leadership has been compromised. You have to know who we are. This is the type of people we are. When we have a leader, it doesn't matter if it's a pastor, a political leader. We're like in the animal kingdom, different animals. Lions are pack animals. There's a lion that's the head, the male, and they all follow his lead. Then you got cheetahs. They different. They solo animals. Different things have different natures. As black people, we follow leadership. If you want to collapse black people, you'd be a fool to go and start fighting with individuals because they're gonna go find their leader, and then they're gonna. All you have to do is get the leader, and no matter how insane it is, if the leader tells the people to do what's insane, you crush the group. So what they have done, the whites have gotten smart, and the Asians and everybody. They've simply picked our leaders for us, the ones that'll do their bidding, or bought the ones off.
That's what's happening in Africa.
In Africa, in America, in the Caribbean.
All over.
All of the leaders have been bought. And what they've done is they realize, what is the thing that we can really determine that we bought them with? Because it's the one thing even Mobutu wouldn't go for. Mobutu, the killer of Lumumba, even the most corrupt black leaders in the world, there's one thing that separates them. They're not going for the gay stuff. They'll do other crazy and insane stuff. They'll enslave their own people. But I'm saying, that's the thing. Once you know a leader will be okay with that as a black leader, that's the telltale sign for the European. You got them, because that's the thing that our people push. Even in Africa right now, in Ghana, when the leader of Ghana tried to insinuate that he was on his way to trying to push in the gate, the people went nuts. In Tanzania, the people loved their president. Why? Because he's speaking out against it. They loved Mugabe in Zimbabwe. Why? Because he spoke out against it and the people were cheering. The people want to stand their ground. But because of our culture, if your leadership does not stand its ground, by virtue of the fact that you're an African, by our culture, we can't stand our ground. That's our problem.
Wow. Wow, and what comes to mind is Barack Obama on a cover of what was it? What magazine?
Newsweek.
Newsweek, and it said the first gay president.
And so before him, our people were much more against it than they were. Once he comes in and says we gotta accept it, then those who don't understand what's going on, but even if they did, if we said that's our guy, we going with him. Once he says we accept it, we go like this, because that's the kind of people we are. Our leadership has been corrupted. And therefore, all of us have been corrupted.
Wow. We have to end it there. We're going to end it right there on that note. This has been your Empower Hour. And again, we do this each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. live. Or you can find us on Facebook under the Empower Hour Talk Show, or on YouTube under Miss Free the People. Until next week, family, take care of each other out there. Peace.